Finally getting his turn with the Tuneup Treatment with the introduction of the 2022 Rockman.exe collaboration. It is RME00 RockTrans, REGRADED, with a kit of Cybercore, Charge Buster, Slash, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of All-Rounder, which buffs leg movement, or stats depending on how translated, when all equipped parts are using different skills. Now when it comes to overall balance and conventional skills, you really can't ever go wrong with RockTrans on the team between a support-based skill, a shooting-based skill, and an iconic melee-based skill. Cybercore is a support-based skill that is essentially radar sight plus conceal for your side. And to explain that in more detail, the radar sight half will grant a 30% buff to success to himself and to all allies, which is of course your likelihood of landing hits and crits. It will also debuff and remove any enemy stacks of conceal or stealth from the enemy side, while in addition to this, the conceal half will grant a stack of conceal to your side of the party. So that means RockTrans and any active allies will get a stack of conceal once this effect is active, making them a lot harder to touch or even land hits on. Right Arm of Charge Buster is a shooting-based skill that draws bonus damage relative to the user's Metaforce gauge. So naturally, the higher your Metaforce charge is, the more bonus damage you get, but upon use, it will also consume a small amount of Metaforce charge upon firing and attacking. At fully capped 5-star, that will be about a 5% damage reduction, and any other lower rarity, it will be about 10%. But of course, a Hunter or Sniper Nature Medal can comp this very easily all the same. And then Slash, which is RockTrans' current iconic skill and exclusive skill, is a rather unique type of skill in this case. As explained, simply put, it will auto-target the closest enemy to RockTrans when he gets to the line. In addition to this, Slash will also grant bonus punish damage relative to how close the enemy is to RockTrans. So naturally, if it's someone who's very far away from the line, it will not deal a lot of damage, even if they are targeted. Whereas if RockTrans very closely outruns someone to the line and they're right on top of it, he will be dealing a lot of bonus damage on top of what he was already intending to come packing with. Now, the All-Rounder ability honestly does tie very fittingly to his motif and his theme of Megaman.exe as being an all-rounded fighter between shooting and melee-based. And it's for that reason he actually does come with some very well-rounded stats across the board too. So even if he does feel a little squishy in some spots, he does make up for it very well with his all-round versatility. Now, when it comes to his Tuneup Treatment, he kind of chose to take what he already came packed with and kind of expound upon it and make it better. In this case, with his head, he has access to plus 300 to his armor, plus 200 to heat and cool each. Cybercore will get an additional 50% bonus to success, as well as a times 0.5 buff to evade, and of course 1 extra head charge. Now, with it being a support-based skill, you really don't need to compound and elaborate on the head use charge, since realistically you'd only be activating Cybercore maybe like once, twice at the very most in a match, very rarely ever more than twice, unless the enemy is using something like Effect Clear, or even if you're trying to refresh that stack of Conceal that Cybercore offers. That being said, I would honestly have to give the bonuses and the must-haves to the bonus to Cybercore, as it will take that 30% buff to success to 80%, and the extra stack to your evade will be much nicer too. As well as this, I do also want to suggest that the plus 200 to heat and cool will be the bonus to go with, to guarantee that once the fight starts, RockTrans will have very little issue, if any, getting to the line to activate that buff before the enemy really has a chance to do anything about it. RockTrans' right arm of Charge Buster has access to plus 200 to success, plus 100 to power, and Damage Plus gets a plus 50% charge bonus when using Charge Buster at its milestone damage bonuses. Now, that being said, it is somewhat obvious here that the Damage Plus bonus will be the one to go with for Charge Buster, and I would honestly have to give the other notable runner-up in this case to Success, given that plus 100 to power is nice, but it's not really enough to make any noticeable dent or difference in his overall output compared to, say, plus 200 to success, which will be a lot easier to notice because he'll be more likely to land a lot of hits, enemies will be less likely to graze or dodge, and he's also more likely to land critical hits on top of that. Left arm of Slash has access to plus 300 to power, plus 300 to success, and plus 300 to heat and cool each, respectively. That being said, it is honestly very obvious here in this case which bonuses would be the ones to go for, as even though success is a very nice one to make use of, and you generally can't ever go wrong with using it on anything, in this case, the plus 300 to power and the heat and cool will honestly be the better choices in this case, as it will guarantee that the slash attack not only will be painful when it activates, but you also are much more likely to outrun or barely outrun your target with a much higher heat or cool, whereas you could with the lower one. Legs have access to a shoot and melee resist of plus 300 each, plus 300 to evade. All-Rounder grants a plus 50 as part of its bonus stat, and of course you also have access to an S-Rank on prairie terrain. Now, much like all other bipeds, S-Rank on prairie terrain really isn't all that necessary or even needed, because, to be completely honest, the extra 10% bonus it gives you really isn't worth it. All-Rounder in this case, I wouldn't necessarily say that plus 50 that it's offering is going to be really great either, so I would honestly have to give the recommended upgrades to shoot and melee resist and evade, so that he can definitely capitalize on being just a little bit tankier or a little bit dodgier than he was before, so he can maintain a much more extended use while in battle. Now, revisiting his pure set and mixed parts scores, originally I had him graded at about a 7 for his pure set and a 7 for his mixed parts, for his overall well-rounded balance across the board, as someone you can generally never ever go wrong with using anywhere. The only major weakness to RockTrans that I do want to mention, however, is that because he's using 3 different skills, both shooting and melee in this case included, it does make wanting to capitalize on higher damage kind of tricky, as you do have to choose between shooting or melee which one you're going to capitalize on and get more damage from. However, if I do want to factor in his new tune-up upgrades, I would honestly have to bump his pure set score to about 7.5 and his mixed parts to about 8 out of 10, given that the extra bonuses to his damage reduction and his evade will make his already very good legs even better. Charge Buster honestly will be very good to use too, as that damage bonus is honestly going to be relatively noticeable once you do have those upgrades going. Slash honestly is nice, but I wouldn't necessarily call it the go-to skill on RockTrans, but Cybercore with that extra bonus will absolutely come in handy if you find yourself needing to use a support-based skill.